Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, it looks like all members are present. This is the meeting of the Water Demand Committee. And today is, what, January 13th, 2022. And it's 10:02. So let's call the order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Roberson,
Here.
Director Edwards,
Here.
Chair Anderson.
Here.
All committee members are present.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Nope. Okay, thank you. So at this time, we can invite public comment for issues that are not on the agenda. Do we have anybody waiting for us, Joel?
Chair Anderson, we do not have any members of the public. The only attendee that we have, aside from everybody present here, is Director Riley.
Okay. So our first item is the minutes from our last meeting. Any comments or questions about corrections on the minutes?
None.
Okay, I actually have one for the schedule, the committee schedule, which came out in a very clear form, a little what would you call it? A little box. The only problem with it was, which we approved, the only problem with it was these dates were not on Monday, they were on Thursday, and it was all listed on Monday. I guess we didn't check our calendar that day, so I want to correct those, that the day of the week for those meetings should be Monday when the minutes come out.
Yeah, so Chair Anderson, so the exhibit, I'll go ahead and correct the exhibit that was in the original meeting packet for October 7th. The meeting minutes that you'll find here listed under number 2, it just simply states that Mayor Roberson recommended the meeting times for January 13th and February 3rd to be changed from 3 p.m. to 10 a.m.
Yes, that's what we said, but what none of us noticed that
The
chart had Mondays instead of Thursdays, and those dates were all on Thursday.
right. So the chart
I
from
think we've met on Thursday in the past.
Said Monday.
Yeah, no, it seems like it was a weekday.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay, that's my only comment. Any others?
A comment on that from me. I'm not planning on being on the Water Demand Committee for the next term.
Okay.
So I think we ought to hold off on, I think the new committee members need to set that date or when they want to meet. Joel, you don't have our meeting calendar, do you? Who's going to be on the Water Demand for the next term?
So I do have a draft of the board committee assignments for calendar year 2022. A calendar for the Water Demand Committee has not been established yet. There will be further discussion at the January 27th Board of Directors meeting regarding board committee assignments and then potentially the frequency of various boards, commissions, and committees.
Okay, well,
Yeah, so I just feel that it would, at this time, if I were to establish a meeting calendar, it would be premature to do so. I'm waiting potentially to establish a calendar either the last week of January or the first week of February.
right.
Under year 2022.
Okay, I understand that, and that's why I'm going. I'm not going to be on it. I think Mayor Robeson is going to be the chair, and he can set his time, whatever time that he liked. I think he liked 10 o'clock in the morning. So,
Yeah.
That or it'll be that or 5 o'clock at the local pub. Take your choice.
All right, sir. So on that item,
Okay, my only point was I would like the day of the week and the date to match.
right.
So it's just corrected. Okay, so I guess we can accept the meeting minutes if somebody will make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay. Let's take a vote.
Mayor Roberson,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, so now we get to the complicated part. Our discussion items. Take it away, Stephanie.
Thank you. First of all, Dave apologizes for not being here today. He is up at Stanford for a consultation.
Uh-huh.
So as far as Water for Housing initiative going, he had a series of meetings with Senator Laird and the city of Monterey in the October-November time period. In mid-November, he met with an ad hoc housing group made up of several council members from different cities and one of the mayors. And he also met with the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. After that, there was a delay caused by the LAFCO shenanigans. And more recently, he's had some conversations with Senator Laird's office. He sent a template letter to Senator Laird that asks for the water board to have a workshop regarding housing issues. And he provided a template for the water board to be able to respond. He also recently reviewed 2003 legislation that Laird apparently had during his days in the assembly, looking for some kind of a framework or legal fix for the housing situation on the peninsula. The result was that it doesn't work. So at this point, we're looking at other options. This week, he provided talking points to Monterey City Manager Hans Usler, who has a meeting today with the Housing and Community Development at the state. And so we are continuing to march through here and try to get something done. I know that there are many desperate people that need water for housing. So I think this is really a high priority for the district. But that's my presentation on it.
Okay, now the sub-metering are item 3.
well, before you go to item 3, Chair, I
Mhm.
think we might have to do some rethinking because Senator Laird is moving out of our district. I think he's not going to be our senator anymore. So we might have to start thinking about a new track, whoever is the senator.
That's an election that we have to have. Special election, is that how this is going to work?
Well, now doing a redistricting, Mr. Laredo, can you help me with that?
Yeah.
The redistricting does not affect the representation until those new representatives are seated, which would be in January of next year. So for this whole legislative year, the existing boundary, the existing representation does stand. It certainly affects the primary, and it affects the vote, but individuals are not seated until under the new representational scheme.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
If I could jump in, I know Mark Stone, we're losing Mark Stone as assembly member, and we've created a Assembly District 30. And you may have already, I've already had 2 or 3 people ask for my endorsement, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So I'll be chatting with him, but I did not know that Senator Laird, we would be losing John.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I thought I heard that he was leaving, moving into going down towards the San Jose area more.
Oh, okay. I know the Assembly District did that. Well, and also, well, Jimmy Panetta's district got chopped up.
shifted.
That
It's
was-
ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, Greenfield and
Down to Santa Maria. I mean, it's all the way
right,
down.
and
Yeah.
with Silicon Valley, which means
Yeah.
San Jose will be electing our representative going forward. But anyway, we can check to see if Senator Laird, if we're losing John or not. I don't know. Yeah,
All right,
I
thank you.
believe you, Alvin. I just I
Well,
hadn't
yeah,
heard that.
I just heard that rumor, went out there that
Yeah.
we losing Lear and Stone. So,
Geez,
Okay.
that'd be a loss.
Certainly.
okay.
Joelle, is that something do you have direct contact? I can have contact with John, or can you contact his office and find out?
You on mute.
Yes, I can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, thank you, Joelle.
Okay.
And by the way, while you are answering, I really appreciate how efficient you are, and that whatever director asked for that calendar on one page with the links, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. That's like, whoa, that makes it even simpler. No
Yes.
fumbling around. Thank you. I agree.
Before you leave the whole water discussion, are we going to discuss that a little bit? There's no action needed, or was it just a report?
No, there's no action. It's just a discussion item.
Questions?
Okay. You don't mind if I jump in?
No.
Currently, AMBAG is trying to come up with RENA numbers. That's regional housing in a something, I forget, but it's the nickname's RENA.
Mhm.
And so the numbers are just crazy. For example, the city of Monterey is supposed to add 5,000 housing units, and there's no water, there's no land. And then, so the Coastal Commission at the state level says they're starting to block permits on any areas in sea level rise zones, which is a big chunk of our downtown.
Mhm.
So they're denying permits. Then the State Water Resources Control Board says you don't get any water. Then Housing and Community Development at the state level says you have to produce 5,000 homes. And I'll leave it at that. It's completely frustrating that state agencies don't seem able to work together.
Yeah,
I'm not sure John's going to get anywhere, frankly, getting any water for affordable housing until Public Water, no, I'm sorry, I got my things. Pure Water Monterey, there you go. Pure Water Monterey expansion is done.
Mhm.
So, and I think we've given it the good old, as my mom used to say, we gave it the good old college try. And honestly, I don't think it's going anywhere, although I'd be interested to hear when Dave's back if he has more details or he knows what I don't know. And I'll check with my city manager too.
Yeah, Hans should have a good discussion today. So that's, he's very proactive.
Well, he may more or less initiated it, and it came out of the city of Monterey for our Garden Road projects.
Yeah.
Which are shovel ready with more water, but okay. So it's lost in the quagmire of state agencies, basically.
who don't talk to each other.
Exactly.
They're not giving out a uniform message.
Ah, humanity, you have to look.
Okay, anything else? We can go on to the number 3, submetering.
All right, so this again is a discussion item, and I think I have come up with an answer to the problem, which is included in the staff report. But the recent inaction of Senate Bill 9, the California Housing Opportunity and More Efficiency Act, allows residential parcels to be split in certain cases, and it contradicts some of our language in terms of our submetering requirement. And so at first, when I planned to bring this to the committee for discussion, I hadn't fully thought through how we might address this problem, where our rule says we have to have the jurisdiction confirm that there's no possibility that an accessory dwelling unit or ADU could potentially be split from the property where the connection is. And so now we know that there is this possibility, even though jurisdiction may not, they can say there's no possibility because it's a single parcel, but with SB 9, now there is the potential that the parcel could be split. And so staff is just proposing and would like feedback from the committee that we add to our deed restrictions that are recorded on each of these ADU permits, that if the ADU is split off on a separate parcel, that they would be required to put in a water meter from the water distribution system operator. And I would say within like 120 days or something from the time that that occurs. And anyway, I just want feedback from the committee on that.
This is,
Go
go ahead,
Chair,
Director Edwards.
thank you through the chair. Right now, do they have to have a meter?
No, right now we allow a sub meter. So it's not a meter from Cal-Am, it's just a meter that the property owner monitors on one ADU on a property. And usually that ADU is a separate dwelling unit from the house. So it's actually, in many cases, it might be in the backyard. So if you have a large lot, it might be somewhere in your backyard so that there's space between the house and the ADU. And those are the kinds of things that could have the potential for splitting.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like if somebody want to put 4 ADUs in their backyard in Carmel Valley, could they do that right now without a meter?
They could get a permit so one ADU is allowed to be split with a permanent, or is allowed to be built with a permanent sub-meter. And so we're not ever going to require them to get a Cal-Am meter for that one ADU. But if they wanted to do a second or third ADU on their property, then we would be recording a deed restriction that says within 90 days of the lifting of the cease and desist order, they have to get a Cal-Am meter for each of those units.
Oh, okay.
But in either, I'm sorry,
Stephanie,
in either case there though, they're required to have the jurisdiction say that that property won't be subdivided or can't be subdivided.
for the first ADU.
For any of the any ADU or any unit that gets a sub-meter, even if it's one of these temporary sub-meters until the CDO is lifted.
Now, if I may, through the chair, once again, have you talked to the cities about this yet? The tax?
Not really, because it's not really something I think that the TAC has to deal with. It's more of a way that we can address a concern that we have as far as the metering requirement goes, where the SB 9, the implication that you could potentially have one of these properties split and result in a Cal-Am connection on a separate property, which is undesirable, is a district issue. It's not really a jurisdiction issue. But the the jurisdictions would be notified, of course, if they have, they have to right now tell us that that property can't be subdivided. But SB 9 changes the whole game.
Yeah, and where I'm going is that the city of Seaside is thinking about something on that. And I like for you to run it by the city of Seaside. I think they should be metered.
Well, in the city of Seaside, I think, Alvin, they did adopt, I believe, something in December that restricts the potential for these subdivisions.
Right.
And I know in the city of Carmel, because we have requirements for parking and that kind of thing, it makes it extremely difficult to have enough space to subdivide a property. So I don't think we're going to see very many of these in Seaside or this city of Pacific Grove, perhaps, but Carmel and Seaside for sure, not very many. Where you're going to see this kind of thing happening is more in the unincorporated county area where they have large properties that potentially could be subdivided.
Okay.
So my suggestion is that we just make it a requirement that if they do end up doing the subdivision, which nobody can predict at this moment, that they would have to put in a Cal-Am meter.
And is this going to require, this is going to require, it seems, changes in like the Carmel Valley plan. Isn't that true? If the lots like where I live, I think it's minimum, they're all about an acre. And if if somebody is planning to split one into 2 half acres, I don't know. I mean, that's more than just a water issue. That's has to do with the planning of the city's plan.
Yeah, and I don't know if they can do that, Amy. I know that there are a number of conditions that have to be met to be able to do this. So, you know, I think, and that definitely is true. Carmel Valley does have the plan that may preclude some of these subdivisions, but I'm sure in other areas of Monterey County, there are probably properties that can easily subdivide.
It's that phrase, in certain circumstances. That was a huge phrase because there's so many rules. It's hard to look into all that stuff.
Well, state law in this case trumps regional plans, neighborhood plans, area plans, etc. And the minimum lot size for an ADU is 2,500 square feet.
What is that in terms of an acre? As
Oh, well, a
percentage?
standard city lot is about 5,000 square feet.
So
An
almost
acre
half.
is 42,000 square feet.
Okay.
And if you look at the houses, I live in a track area up here in Monterey, and they're actually, some of our lots are 10, 15, 20,000 square feet. And even if on a 5,000 square foot lot, if the current house is small enough, theoretically, you could actually subdivide it.
Yeah.
And unless I'm wrong, the state, our general plan is out the window. Any local jurisdiction, any local discussion rules no longer apply because this becomes administrative. So how it works in SB 9 is, take my house, I could convert my garage to an ADU. Then I can put another one in my house somewhere, say 2 bedrooms, and build a third one. So now my single family neighborhood is a quadruplex. Now, will people do that? Probably not, but there will be some.
Some do.
Yeah.
Some do.
Yeah.
Carmel, Stephanie, I know where you live. I can't see that happening. The lots are really pretty much maximized with building.
I actually had one last night where they've got a 758 square foot ADU going in on a 4,000 square foot lot with another house that's also going to be 1,500 square feet. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's,
Oh.
but
But
the
how does that-
the ADU is a ministerial decision. So you really have to approve it. And it doesn't count as far as lot coverage goes, at least here. So,
Right,
No,
and the
both new.
parking requirements are waived too, as I understand.
that's for the ADU stuff. However, this new SB 9 is an addition to that ADU thing. So SB 9 and subdivisions can require a parking spot for, you know, if the property is split, and that the jurisdiction can require parking. So,
But I think the ADUs that are within the existing home,
do not have to have a parking spot.
you don't have to have parking. So,
Right.
and then again, it's going to be really interesting. I've been following Director Alvin. I've been following Seaside and I've asked our staff to get a summary of what Seaside's doing to make sure these are done correctly. So we'll get an update on that. And when I do, I'll get it for everybody.
The water is really the sticking point for all of this expansion.
Exactly. So Stephanie, if someone has to go to the Cal-Am for the additional independent ADU, for lack of a better word, the one that's built separately, that would still be subject to the CDO, I would think.
It would, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's the bottom line. All right, thanks.
Yeah. Let's take it out to the public and see if the public have any comments, questions.
Yes, so at this time, if you would like to make public comment on item number 2 or 3, please raise your hand. And Chair Anderson, I do not see anybody with their hands raised, so I'll return this back to the committee.
Thank you. Well, if there are not any more questions,
Yeah, just one more for me. I might as well have a good time since it's my last meeting. Hey, Stephanie, do you see any problem with running if the water demand decides to say no meters or meters. I think you recommending meters, are you?
I'm recommending that we require a separate CalAm meter if the property is subdivided and they have an ADU.
Okay, well, I like for you to at least run it by the cities.
Okay.
At least run it by the city, because last thing I want is them hollering at us that we did something without letting them know.
I can certainly send it to our TAC, yes.
Yeah, and so, and that way, when it comes to the full board for approval, okay, I can stand by. We talked to the cities and they gave you feedback, or they didn't give you feedback, and we can move forward.
Yeah, I don't think this actually needs to go to the board. I think this is just an action that I wanted the committee to provide feedback on, and we would add it to our deed restriction.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I can just say one other word on that, if you subdivide the property, you've created a new lot.
Mhm.
And by rule, you've got to have a water meter,
True.
right?
Yes.
It's that simple.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's that simple that we can't do any new hookups with the moratorium.
Exactly. Right.
But then if they did went ahead and use that straight meter off the house, they will have to know that after we get off the moratorium, they got to get a meter.
Exactly. Right.
And I don't know how you keep track of that, you know.
That's
So,
going to be coordinating with each of the jurisdictions. So that's the reason to contact the TAC about it. If they have a
Thank you.
subdivision, we can work
Good.
with them. Yeah.
good. I'm satisfied with it.
All right.
Now,
Can somebody tell me what TAC stands for?
Technical Advisory Committee. It's
you.
usually made up of the city manager or either a city manager or planning directors for each of the jurisdictions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, next is, wait, item 4, which I didn't have any information about in my packet.
Sorry about that. So this is discussing the credit for gray water systems used for toilet flushing and clothes washing in single family and accessory dwelling units. So recently it has come, so let me step back. Back in 2019, the board adopted a resolution that gave a water credit for installation of a gray water system for flushing toilets or using gray water for laundry. And it reduced the fixture unit count for those two fixtures by 3/4, so 75%. So instead of one fixture unit, it would have been 1/4 of a fixture unit required to put in those appliances in new construction. We have a number of conditions on that system that the district required, including a CalAm backup source. So if that system didn't produce enough gray water, there would be like a fill on the tank that would fill it with CalAm if it was necessary. The system had to be designed to meet annual needs plus 3 days. And meters had to be installed on both the gray water in and out of the system. And then we had a requirement that they have to report on an annual basis. And when we considered this, I think, at least from the staff perspective, I think we were thinking more in terms of apartment complexes that were going to be constructed, like the Garden Road complexes, where this type of a system really makes sense. You've got on-site maintenance, or you've got a maintenance component and somebody who can make sure the system is running properly. In the last couple of months, we've had a couple of proposals for gray water systems to offset toilets and clothes washers in ADUs. And when I started looking at this, I had concerns about the ability of an ADU to provide sufficient gray water flows to meet the needs of the toilets and clothes washing. Because if you think about it, you know, usually an ADU is one person, maybe two, but most likely one person living in a home, how much gray water are they actually generating, and how easy it would be to have somebody just go, you know, let the Cal-Am water be the main source of water in that type of a system. There's nobody really monitoring it or involved with it. And so as we got these applications or these proposals in, I have to say nobody actually has done it, because once we started talking about what was required to do these systems, I think it scared people away, because the city has to actually get involved with permitting a dual system, a dual plumbing system, where the toilets and the clothes washer plumbing all has to be a completely separate plumbing system from the potable system that's throughout the rest of the connection. And so the city has to look at those plans for the gray water system and concur that there is there is going to be enough water supply to meet the needs plus those 3 days. Environmental health has to sign off on it. And then Cal-Am weighed in and will require a backflow preventer to be installed on the main water line between the meter and the house if you want to do this, do gray water system. And backflow requires periodic inspections. So it's not like you've just put in this carefree system. Anyway, so my question to the committee is, do you feel that it would be appropriate for us to modify our credit for gray water systems in terms of the permitting process, so that there would be like a minimum of, say, 8 units that would be, so it would be an apartment building versus just a single dwelling unit or an ADU, so that we can be assured that we are not going to have a situation where the water use is actually Cal-Am water use.
You know, I would be willing to review that, but I feel like I need to have the information in my packet to look at and read and think about.
Okay.
So what you're proposing sounds like a good idea, but I have to read it twice to really
Well,
get.
we could continue this item, and I could actually write up a report for you with more detail so that you can actually see kind of the thought process.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Other directors?
Yep, I agree.
I agree with that. The only problem I worry about people putting those kind of systems in their homes, and there's no way to check and make sure they're doing it right.
Yeah.
That's my problem. You know, I like to give them credit, but if they going, you know, if that one resident, my resident will be allowed credit, is it a way to check to give me credit?
Well, that's the problem.
Okay, that's the problem.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I would give you credit for it, but are you actually using it and maintaining it? And, you know, and then you have your own personal problem of the fact that you have this plumbing system that's more complicated than somebody else's plumbing system, and you've got requirements for reporting and stuff.
Yeah. That's a problem that I have too. Somebody can just jerry rig something, and you know. So yeah, I think a report and other ways to do it, and that's another one that you can throw by the tack.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, the only reason I say throw it by the tack is that we don't want this stuff to go out, or we don't want to approve something that they didn't know was going to happen. That's my only reason, to keep them informed as much as possible.
Alrighty.
Okay.
well, and it certainly seems like using Cal-Am water to fill those up and bypassing it all, really the reason to do it in the first place is that could be a real problem. Of course, they'd have to pay for that water. It's not like it's cheap, but still. Let's delve into it more, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Okay, if that looks like it's the, basically, if anybody has anything to suggest to be on.
Madam Chair, let's check that item that we just did out to the public.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, no
Do that.
problem. You know, just check and see if they want to comment or anything. You're doing a great job.
Ask George. He's out there. Does he have anything to say?
Everybody
Yeah,
else
so-
ran away, huh?
Yeah, so if you would like to make public comment on item number 4, please raise your hand. Director Anderson, I do not see anybody with their hand raised, so I'll return this back to the committee.
Thank you. Okay, nothing more from the committee?
Thank you. Nope.
Thank you. Okay, if that's all the business we've got, then this meeting is adjourned, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Chair.
you.
We'll miss you, Alvin, but I think we'll see you in other venues.
Well, Mayor, I have to say, I'm glad you on this committee because you do pretty good. I like your comments. So
Thanks so much. Likewise.
yeah, good
Thank
luck.
you, Alvin.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Alvin.